try to analyse them in a critical way so that there is a cohesive explanation. For example, Freud was brilliant, but he was deviated onto the shape of the breast, the softness of the breast, his perception of it as a man. He didn't get the nipple right.
Right. Because a baby doesn't really know that much about the breast as about the nipple.
Exactly. That's what it recognises the mother.
You mentioned that Freud also didn't look at non-human primates. What was his reason for not going to primates? It's really pre-Darwinian thinking, but was that what did he say?
The internet, because I've had that access to information.
Yes. Plastic, he would have had to be extremely iconoclastic to make that comparison at that time, don't you think?
Yes. And then we get on to, say, Lorenz. Now, Lorenz had a mindset on the visual imprinting.
Right.
So he had little goslings following him into the water and marched after their human mum.
Lorenz specific application of it.
He called it imprinting, but he was talking about visual attachment. When the geese followed him, he said, oh, this is imprinting. But he should have called that attachment. He also did work on mammals. He was trying to prove it in mammals as well, and worked on beavers. He did a beaver by the name of Fritz. And he was such a good scientist, but he didn't see the wood for the trees, because he noted that Fritz objected to having its dummy changed, or its sucking objects changed, and that it was always associated with sleep.
Right.
So he worked with mammals. He was describing exactly what he was looking for, and he didn't recognise it, didn't get it.
Well, I love the way you describe the way you do get it, like when you're sitting there with that woman who's got the child that won't suck, and it's sitting there sucking on a dummy all morning, and you say, well, it's got an object of attachment for sucking, it's not your breast. It's not a nutritious one.
Exactly. Imprinting is on part of the mother, and attachment is visual and on the whole mother. It's an oral, tactile. Ashley Montague, the anatomist, he very much emphasised the fact that our main sensory organ is tactile. And we've got all those Merkel cells in the mouth. Why do babies have all those Merkel cells there? They're for sensory recognition, tactile recognition. Even a single cell organism can detect a favourable to an unfavourable environment and move towards it. So is it surprising that we have...
it starts with the breast, that's all it knows. It thinks it's the entire bloody universe and there's one other breast and that's it. Nipple. It thinks there's a nipple and it.
Stimulus feature. Stimulus feature.
There was a bloke by the name of Slukin, he died just before I got to Durham. He actually didn't do so much work on it, but what he tried to do was document a criteria for it and show the difference between imprinting and attachment. If you say latchment, we should reserve that for the first 6 months, because that then develops into attachment. You don't get the attachment until you get the latchment.
I firmly believe we're still scientifically surrounded by pre-Darwinian thinking. The similarities are so much greater than the differences, including in social behaviour. They're so similar, and yet we've got this idea that we're other.
As a matter of fact, at a conference, one woman got up and the authoritative person said, now I know that there are other ideas here, but we are not animals, are we?
Oh, brilliant scientist she is. We're not animals. Yeah, right. Jury's been in on that one for a while.
But if animals are low in oxytocin when they're after parturition, they tend to neglect their babies. They're not getting that feel good to help them mother.
Right.
They already give oxytocin to horses and sheep when the mother's starting to eject the baby. There's Lane Stratton's work. Now he has shown, for these papers in the last year or two, that where mothers are low in oxytocin in the perinatal period, their children are more likely to be abused further down the track, but by neglect, not by being beaten up, by neglect. Now, so Lane Stratton's work is extremely important. And the mother needs that hormone. They have shown in rodents, this is Moshe from McGill University, he's a professor of pharmacology, He links various things together. For example, like if you stress rodents, their cortisol levels go up. Cortisol is toxic to the baby's brain development. And moreover, methylation of the baby's DNA takes place. Then he links that up further down the track with cadavers.
So you're saying that's sort of epigenetics rather than...
That's exactly what he's talking about. He then extrapolates that to the adult. So you have cadavers who have suicided, and he's able to show that there is a significant difference in the cadavers between those who have suicided because their DNA is methylated and those who have not committed suicide. Dogs this year, thumb sucker, now shown to have genetic changes. They did it on Dobermans actually.
So in other words, what we're really dealing with is that the impact on the child is really primarily through elevated cortisol levels. I mean, we know they're going to be smaller, they're going to be more irritable, they'll probably be less intelligent with high cortisol levels.
2 to 10 points.
2 to 10.
Tiffany Field pointed out that she was looking at premature babies. Now, premature babies is a special case because it's a pathology. And she was able to show that when babies sucked dummies, that their cortisol levels came down and their growth hormone went up. Unfortunately, at that time, everyone thought, oh, therefore, we must push dummies into all infants' mouths.
Because it must be sucking.
That's
Talk
right.
about correlation causation problems, yes.
And practically every baby goes home from hospital these days with a dummy stuck in its mouth. Just imagine trying to form a relationship with a piece of plastic. What does that do to the baby's emotions? Not being in tactile contact with another person and just being in contact with a piece of plastic in your mouth. In the last few weeks before I came here, I was seeing a mother and she said to me, they told me not to let myself be used as a dummy on the way out the door.
I love evolutionary biology because I can only make sense of the world when I go back to pre-agriculture. As long as I'm 9,000 years or further back, I get it. It all makes sense.
But what other man would survive if it didn't get to the nipple?
Yeah. Well, think of this in prehistory. There's just no such thing, right? Either it's a wet nurse or it's the mother, but it's a nipple.
Yes.
And if it's not a nipple, it's a dead baby. So you're only getting one type of influence from the cortisol and the growth hormone and everything else, and you're getting a uniformity in the development of the brain in that respect.
And the genetics to push the behaviour.
Exactly.